here. And today we also have Lee Witcher joining us. Adding Clint. Let me check the YouTube stream.
You gotta change your logos if Lee's gonna be joining us.
Don't worry, it's like an internship here.
And we are streaming. Awesome. So how are you, Clint? What's new?
Doing good. Just got back from walking. This is our new exercise regimen. So it's hot out. It's 107 today. I was just talking to Kyle about that.
Wow, that's like brutal heat.
Yeah, he's worse. He's got 111 in Phoenix. So
that is the rumor.
Wow. And no AC. How do you do it? You keep your cool.
That is an impressive trick. Can you imagine though? Like, I saw that a population in Phoenix was pretty flat, and then like 1980, like when AC comes on, you can see like how could you live here?
Yeah. It'd be pretty bad. How are you, Lee?
I'm better than you guys are. We're 75 today, so it's nice. Doors and windows open, that kind of stuff. It's just beautiful.
Nice. So while we have all of us here, let me just ask our attendees, how is the sound? Is anyone too loud, too quiet? If you could let us know if it's all okay or does it sound bad? So it sounds perfect in Remo. How about on the YouTube side? Can somebody over on YouTube let us know if it sounds okay? We get a perfect from YouTube. Awesome. So with that, we'll go ahead and start. Let me share my screen. Awesome. And so thank you for joining us for episode 63. Can you believe we've done 63 episodes since that challenge and SEO Signals Lab of should we do it? We got to do something special.
I can't believe we haven't been kicked off the air yet.
What's that?
I can't believe we haven't been kicked off the air yet.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, we'll have to start planning something for episode 100. So keep an eye out for ideas.
I'm gonna kill my camera so that the picture gets bigger on the stream.
Okay, me too. So this week in IMG, we got the test review with Lee. Is that correct, Lee? Is that happening tomorrow?
That is happening tomorrow.
Finally, I got it right. I knew if I just left it alone, I'd get it right one of these weeks.
Absolutely.
Broken clock.
So Friday pro tips. Kyle, do you know anything about what might be happening there? Is that going to be a surprise?
So last week, Spencer Haas gave a pro tip. And I think we also have a special guest on this week, but I'm not 100%, so I don't want to get people's hopes up. But it will be pro, and it will be a tip.
Awesome. I'm not sure what we're doing for Monday. I knew Andrew had something in the works while we get the update detection system rebuilt. So
I think we're looking at doing a 4-part audit series, but I don't know if it starts this Monday or not.
Well, keep an eye out. We may have an announcement for Monday. And then, of course, Tuesday is the Hangout with Ted. We have a lot of experts, ask the expert nomenclature for this event. Still confusing me, so I got to get that corrected. But basically, it's Hangout with Ted and ask lots of SEO questions. So that's a cool event. We just had one with you on Tuesday. How did that go?
Oh, that was a lot of fun. I think and this might be a good thing, the format changes between you and I, so that I think you do more of like a group sesh.
Yep.
And then for mine, it's definitely more of an AMA style, but with Matt, the community director of IMG. He asks the questions and I answer them, and then we have a little talk about it. So the other thing about it too, if you're not able to attend either of these with myself or Ted, you can post questions and we will answer them, and they're recorded. So feel free to jump in and ask any questions that you've got.
Yeah, and you can see the replays. And then that brings us to next week, coming back to SEO Fight Club. And again, we have a lot of courses. So if you're looking for something to do in your self-isolation time, we recommend you check out these courses. Clint Butler also has courses available at whatranks.com. Is that correct, Clint?
Yep, that's correct.
So check those out. It's a great way to use this downtime is to improve your skill set. So when things do recover, you come back even stronger than when this all started. And so, Clint, what can people expect on SEO this week?
So this week we go over a course that's being offered by someone I know in one of the Slack groups. He's got a Python for SEO. He's 4 lessons into it right now. You get the video, the blog post, and then I actually linking to the Git where all the code is. So all those posts and talks we did about Python and learning something new kind of come to tuition there, and someone's actually putting a course together for everybody. So that's pretty cool. And also I'm giving away, or I'm showing a free Trello dashboard and a GMB analytics dashboard, and how to pull those in together, and some hacks on Data Studio. And then I close it out with the lesson this week on how I pick hub pages, and just a brief overview of using PPC to find the proper keywords to actually decide what's going to be your quote unquote money page when you're building silos.
Very cool. So we have a June 3rd contest that's running right now. So to get in on this contest, all you have to do is sign up for IMG, internetmarketing.gold, and it can be the free or the paid, so you don't have to pay anything if you don't want to. You have to complete your member profile, including an avatar picture, to be qualified to win. And then you just need to find the contest post and leave a comment. That's all you have to do to be enrolled in this contest. And there are 9 lucky winners. 3 of those winners are each going to get 1 month of Page Optimizer Pro, the agency level, so totally free. 3 winners are going to get are each going to get 1 gold level press release from Magic PR. And these press releases, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, the gold level press release, I mean, they are SEO powerhouses, right?
Yeah, and actually I learned this trick from Clint. Clint was the one that was talking about how much he's crushing it with press releases and their Magic PR press releases.
So what do you think, Clint?
Yeah, he's one of the, I don't know of any other provider yet. He's doing the PRs. He's doing all the backlinking for it, doing all the indexing, and then he's consistently building and adding more sites to his network to make sure you get the most out of it. So I'm kind of biased too. I also partnered with him. So I'm handling all of his premium press release stuff. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So
even better.
These gold level press releases, are these the ones where he even offers to write the content?
Actually, he'll write the PRs for every one of them. And then the content for his backlinking all comes out of the PR, so it all makes sense. And if you're into the topical relevance of your backlinks and stuff, he's got it all covered. So we use him when we're getting in trouble with maps, and we just want that pusher to knock it over. That's where we're using we actually use the silver level. The gold one is new. He's added more stuff to it. So I'm going to try that one out myself too, but I primarily use and recommend the silver.
Awesome. And then 3 lucky winners are each going to get a lifetime license of the Image Duplicator Pro for use with 10 sites. And that's for free, and it's a lifetime thing. So that's a big deal. And additionally, Patrick Tuttle, who runs Ranking Factory and is offering this prize, he's allowing all participants to use a coupon code for the free 5-site license. That's a lifetime license. So let me add Patrick to the conversation here so he can tell us about this prize. All right, so Patrick, if you turn on your microphone, you can start talking. Let's see if we can get Patrick in here. There we go. Feel free to use your camera if you or to share screen. We'll give Patrick 3 minutes here to tell us about this amazing opportunity.
All right, yeah, there's no point in sharing any screen within 3 minutes. I mean, usually I can't even, get out of bed in 3 minutes, so I'll just talk quickly. Basically, over the last few years, we've been working to create an environment where within WordPress, we can optimize our images. I think all of us here have at some point in time had this scenario where we just don't like to do it because it takes too much time. And if you have a lot of images on your site, it really takes a lot of time. So we've created 2 versions of a WordPress plugin. One is for the basic version, which we're giving away for free. It'll take the 4 fields for your image when you pull them into your WordPress. And we've actually added a couple extra fields in there just to show you that within that particular environment, you have the opportunity to create more metadata in that image than what WordPress allows you to do. We're also within the area of the training area going to provide 3 tools where you can check the various types of metadata that's available. EXIF is only one type. You have XMP data, you have IMM data, Dublin Core. So there's a lot of different types of metadata that you can put into an image, a PDF, or actually a video itself. Not a YouTube, but a video. And so we built this tool, and it's free. You can get, I don't care, you can get 5, 10, 15, whatever sites that you have, download it for your use. And we're going to have a lot of training and a lot of ways in which to share some hacks with you. One of the things that we're kind of training and talking about right now and testing is on carousels, right? So a lot of times you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different carousel pictures. I think the reality of it is very few of us actually look at carousels and go through them. So we're testing on using the same image, but all different metadata, and it looks like the carousel itself doesn't move, but it's actually moving from image to image to image. It's just the same image. And so, that's a little bit of a hack that we're working on and testing to see how that works out as well. And then the pro version, which is an upsell, but there's Ted, did you give everybody the coupon code for that I sent you?
Yeah, the free one for 5 site licenses.
But the pro one, I gave you also another code for another 22% off, which is Ted, just Ted, I think. So.
Yeah, we can add that to the description in YouTube later, and we'll definitely add that to the post. We have the WPB 100 coupon code for the
correct. That's the free one. Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like there's another code that we'll add to the contest post. So find that post in IMG to get those codes.
I just want everybody to, take the time and effort to do it once, and you can reduce the image size for optimization as well. And then you can have all your rotating spinnable content for all your fields, because it all spins and it's all different. So your size is different, your spin is different. The only thing that at this point is not different is possibly the face of the image itself. But there are things that we're working on with that too. But it works great. We're getting great results. One other little quick thing, and I'll let you go because my 3 minutes is up. But we actually took the images that we created and we put them on a Word document and then we took the Word document and created a PDF out of it, and then took the metadata for the PDF and created a metadata PDF, put that on the Word document, took the images and optimized them again and created another Word document, which we created as into a PDF document. And we actually placed that on archive.org. And all the metadata from all the images and all the PDFs and everything else that you put on that Word doc that you turn into a PDF will show up. And we were like, for the images that we were working with, showed up like 4 or 5 of the first 10. So it works.
That's awesome. So if you have WordPress, if you're using a lot of images, if you've been neglecting the SEO fields for those, you need to check out this prize. And if you win, you get the awesome version of it. And if you just participate, you can get an awesome version of it too, just fewer websites. So thank you, Patrick.
My pleasure. Thanks for letting me be here.
All right. If you can close your mic and camera, we'll continue with the show. So that brings us to our topic. Today, we are talking about the modes of local SEO. So a lot of people have heard in the community that I've been researching what it would take to do something like Quora for local SEO. And I wanted to share some of that research. So for now, that project is kind of on, if not on a back burner, it's on a very low flame. So it's not going to happen quickly, but I am looking at the technical aspects of what it would take to do it properly. And, it's a big project to bite off, and I'm going to show you some of that. And to help talk about this topic, I brought on Lee Witcher onto the show as well. He's done a lot of the recent research as far as testing in local. And he's the only person I know of who, under scientific scrutiny of both Clint and Kyle and myself, was able to get click-through traffic to work for local in terms of increasing rankings and expanding proximity. So in my opinion, Lee is one of the world's utmost experts in this arena. Kyle, Clint, what do you think of Lee? Is he a bastard, or is he all right?
Hey, he's all right. I'm not going to say too much for him. His heads aren't as big as it is.
After seeing Lee's work, we actually bring him in to consult on local clients in our agency.
And Lee, what do you think of how I describe your expertise in this arena?
I think there's other people that do it. I just happen to do it publicly. I wish I had a chance to comment on Clint and Kyle, though.
Well, maybe someday we'll give you permission to do that, but for now, they're untouchable. No, I kid. You can learn habit if you want to.
Now they're great guys.
All right. So the first thing I noticed when I started going into this is that there's this transfer of context. So you go into Google and you type in, Seattle plumber or plumber near me or whatever you're searching that eventually leads to the local pack. And what ends up happening is that there's this more businesses link. And I noticed recently that Google's been A/B testing this. So there's been, changes to how this happens. But typically in recent times, you've seen it as the more businesses link. And when you do that, it's taking all this context that Google knows about you, like your physical location and the context of the search and stuff like that. And it's encoding all of that context into this one link. And if you don't carry that context over, you won't be getting the results that are relevant for competing with these three here. Do you agree with that assessment, Lee?
Yeah, I think that's been one of the interesting things is to watch all of the different things that Google has been testing with local and the display. And I know you're going to go into some of that.
So yeah, the first thing is that, if I was going to make Cora for local, I need to capture the context of the local been conveniently encapsulated into this one link. And if I'm not doing that, then we're potentially comparing apples and oranges. And what I found, and what Lee basically told me, because I started off going down the wrong path. I wasn't capturing that context, and I was showing the bad local results and not the good local results. And it's like, well, how can there be bad and good ones? The thing is that local is different than maps. If you go to maps and start searching, it's not the same thing as following that context from search. Even though they have the same filters and even though they use the same technology, they're different URLs and they're different algorithms. So I have the web transferring the local over here, and I do the same search on maps over here, and they're different search results. They're different. They're different rectangles in the map, and they're different websites. They're different businesses. Any comment on maps and web to local being different?
I think it was an interesting thing when I started going down these roads, trying to figure out, exactly how Google was using, geolocation of the searcher and of the businesses, and looking at the differences between these two. I started to think, well, maybe something's wrong. Maybe they're tracking something different in my browser. But you do this over and over again. I mean, sometimes they do align. Most of the time, they do not. And sometimes they can be quite different from each other. So,
yeah. So I based on the advice I got from Lee and based on what I was seeing, I started to realize that there's a path to competing in local organically, and you have to very carefully follow that path, or very quickly you're going to be competing on something that isn't where the competition is. And so following that link from organic search into local is how you do that. But then I started to notice that there are these modes. I would search for plumbers near me and coffee shop near me, and I'm getting these different searches. So I get this one, like here's the website and directions, and it's kind of basic. But then on the coffee shops, it's showing photos, it's showing priciness, it's doing these faceted qualities from the GMB. We're seeing more descriptions, GMB descriptions. These are service area businesses that are Seattle, Washington, but these have physical addresses. So there are these different modes, and even the filters that are available are different on these. So, how much complexity has this brought into your research, Lee? Oh, are you muted, Lee?
yeah, if you're trying to do something simple like, just scrape data and the formats aren't the same, I mean, because you're the expert on parsing this stuff out, it becomes problematic. And then, trying to figure out exactly what are the characteristics that Google cares about. For example, with, your coffee shop near me, the dine-in, take-out, delivery, those are attributes in the GMB, but are they also important components of search? Do you use them with your keywords or your entities to try to manipulate the rankings? So, yeah, it's kind of hard to figure out when they're testing all over the place what it is they care about.
Yeah, it was an explosion of dimensions, and it's like it seems like the rules change where the price of a plumber doesn't really matter, but the price of a coffee shop is something they're tracking. And so it seems like the game changes based on the context of the keywords. And so my next thought was, how many different modes can I find? And so I found that, there's that basic mode of the plumber, and there's the faceted mode of the coffee shop. But then there was a relevancy mode where they start mentioning what appears on the website. And then there's a product feed mode where it looks like they're looking at either product schema or product shopping feed data along with it. There's this announcement mode for COVID announcements. And then there's endorsement mode where it's pulling in, what people say in the reviews. And it seems that certain keywords tend to lean towards certain of these modes. And it's not always 100%, keyword gets 100% this mode. It can mix between the presentations. But by and large, I see a lot of leaning towards a favored mode for a certain type of keyword. Any thoughts on this yet, Clint and Kyle?
Well, it's one of those things where you see, you do see this, but I don't always take it in. And so I really didn't have any idea on the maps and local were different. But you'd mentioned the other day that I'm going to talk about modes, and I had the same thought that Clint did. I thought that there was one mode, local, and this is really interesting to see.
How about you, Clint? Any initial impressions? Is this?
Looking at it from the slides you presented, showed us the slides the other day, and then I went back and kind of did my own thing, and I was looking at it and trying to see if I could duplicate what you're thinking. I've seen all these things, but I just never put it into, hey, maybe that's what they're doing with it. You know what I mean? I haven't put two and two together. So seeing it presented in this way kind of leads to actually some new test ideas, and how can we leverage it to make it more effective for us in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah, that's my hope in sharing this information, is that it opens up a lot of new doors for testers. And it started to make me think that, what's going on here? Is this like another meta search engine? Are we seeing, based on your keywords, it shifts you into image mode or into video search or into news search? Are these different, algorithms fundamentally when you trigger service area businesses versus destination-based address businesses? Is it food search versus service area business search? There's all these questions that we don't know. And for my purpose, I was wondering, how much does the GMB field blend into the ranking equation versus this on-page relevancy where a Quora-like solution could come in? You kind of have to blend, the factors on the GMB card with the other things like the on-page relevancy. Lee, have you encountered that there's, a blending?
Well, the interesting thing, I'm going to go back to something that Clint said, because my mind goes there and it kind of addresses some of this. If you look, for example, for coffee shop and you search for different cities, some of them will show you the dine-in, takeout, delivery, some won't. And the question is Google testing it in those particular areas, or is it reacting to something in the search volume or the search characteristics of the people in that particular region? So if you're going to test it, do you have to test, for example, dine-in within the areas where Google's displaying it, or would it work effectively in areas where they're not? I mean, we don't even know. It's going to take a lot of testing just to figure those things out, as Google is testing to figure it out. So I think when I look at this, my guess is that Google is figuring out from user behavior which things tend to satisfy the user most. And so if we take that approach, then you can see where it's headed. And if that's where it's headed, then we need to figure out how to test it and get on top of it. So all of these modes are just indicators of things that need to be tested. So I'm with Clint on this one.
So another thing I noticed, let me go back and point out that there's also these like entity labels. It's kind of like a best entity for the business. And, this is probably being configured in the GMB where, in the GMB, you're saying, I am a plumber, I am a dance school, I am a department store, I am a yoga studio. And so it seems that there's this heavy slant in local for the entities. And what's interesting is not all keywords work in local. So you can search for information topics like radial proximity, and local has nothing for me. You can force that local context on a keyword that it doesn't normally service by triggering the map. So radial proximity near me does get results. They're not great results, but it forces it to work. And so I thought it was interesting that, certain keywords just do nothing in local search, but by and large, specific entities, not all entities, specific entities seem to be the playground. What have you seen regarding like entities and local?
Well, I think that you hit on it. I mean, there are certain ones like plumber where Google just knows that should trigger a local, and then there are others that don't. So with regard to the niche or category of the search, it's there. As far as the relationship of other entities and LSI to local ranking and search, I mean, that's an area that I'm testing in now to sort of see if we can determine that there are any relationships there and if it's similar to the way organic works or not. But one of the tips I will tell people is, if you're trying to find terms that will pop a map pack, if you take those terms in and anything that comes back with a near me from an auto suggest tends to pop, it's 90+% of those will pop a map for you. So, like your radial proximity near me pops a map.
Yeah, and it's almost like there's a need for a local keyword tool that helps you search keywords that pop the map pack. Are there tools on the market that are good for that need? Because it's a different type of keyword research, totally.
Not that I have found. Not that I found. My hope was that we would have Cora Local, but
It was interesting because I started seeing that when you're in local search, the auto suggest keywords from Google, a lot of them fail. Like it'll suggest things that won't work. So even Google hasn't figured this out yet.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
So I started to explore the edge cases of how all this works. So I was like, okay, I need the right type of entity search, but I want to start to dabble in local where on-page matters, where your tuning matters. And so I started exploring keywords like flute lessons, where it isn't a specific business entity, but where it's going to trigger those matches in title and the matches on page and those types of relevancy. And so with flute lessons, I started to see a real good blending of like specific entities like music instructor, music school, those types of things. But then having it in title would matter. So flute and lessons. And then we'd see here that it actually starts pulling up bolded variations. So you do get a concept of variations in these results. You have to get a lot of results to get a decent amount of variations, though. Are there cases where you've seen variations in play in local?
Yeah, I mean, even with this one, if I search for flute lessons Seattle up where you are, we'll get variations for flute lessons in Seattle. If I search for it here in Oklahoma City where I am, other variations that pop in are school and, teacher or teachers. And you see those kind of things. It almost appears that in different areas there may be different variations at play. I don't know why. I don't know if it's again the way that local searchers search, or I don't know if that's an output of the results that Google has available, because flute lessons, doesn't trigger 100 different businesses in any location that I'm aware of. So you have thinner result set to choose those variations from.
Yeah, but it's a good sign that there is a blending of on-page with this entity search that seems to be coded. So, it does seem to me that there is a mixture of on-page as well as just this pared down entity search engine.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, the for me, one of the biggest things that I see, one of the biggest factors in local, is actually the degree of optimization of the website associated with it. So, when I do traffic type manipulation, it works a whole lot better, which is why I'll work with like Clint, or I'll work with Kyle on something like that, because those guys know they have to get their on page right, and they do a really good job with it. And it makes the traffic, or even Clint has suggested on his shows, backlinks are much more effective once you have the on page right. So it's as though Google treats the entity as the GMB plus the associated website. So optimization of the website does matter.
And I know there's a few SEOs out there in the world that are holdouts saying that entities aren't a thing. And, my response to those people who say that entities aren't a factor is that clearly you don't do local SEO. I mean, is that your opinion? What would you say to those standouts who say that entities don't work?
Well, I think you don't do local or organic or any other type of SEO if you're not aware of that. I mean, there's just too much tested data, too much analytical data that suggests that it's there. So if you're ignoring that, you might as well be ignoring backlinks as a factor as well.
What do you guys think, Kyle and Clint? Where do you stand on entities? Is that still a debate, or is that been concluded?
As far as I'm concerned, it's concluded. There's so much evidence, not only from IMG, SIA, your stuff, testing in the wild, real world applications, not only from me, but even the people in my mastermind, and the stuff that Kyle knows. Mark's done some crazy stuff with entities, and he's getting great results off of that. At the end of the day, it's, if you're saying that entities don't work, or you're preaching a content marketing on page model, you're just ignoring the obvious facts of the stuff that you're doing anyway, and you're just denying that you're doing it, which is kind of, it's weird. People see through it. It's it's with machine learning, AI, all that stuff, and I'm not on that whole bandwagon just yet, but you can see the fruits of that labor coming above and bubbling up, and that's entities is probably one of the first things to do that. So they're getting entities right. Now they're getting topical relevance right. What's next?
Yeah, I totally agree. 100% agree. Nothing really to add.
Yeah. So if you're in the camp that entities aren't a factor, I would say the ball's in your court to prove it at this point. I'd say that the mountain of evidence on the other side is there. You need to bring something compelling to the table to prove it's not a factor. So ball's in your court. So those entities, we see them just hard coded, like they couldn't be more obvious. And they're specifically, career entities, cuisine entities, business entities. Those seem to be like the three buckets that kind of trigger the hardest. But I've also seen it in the form of those product categories. If I go back, so here's an entity. This is a product category from a shopping feed, cast iron cookware. So all of a sudden, those product category entities are important too. So it's interesting to see which entities, and there are event type entities too. The dance classes. So it's going to be interesting to see which categories of entities are at play in the local search. And that may give us clues on where to look in organic search too. So the research that's done here may give us a look under the hood at what's also in play organically. Because if they can do it here, they can do it secretly there. It tells us what's possible. It tells us where they have technology. And people kept telling me that proximity, is the number one factor. But that's kind of an interesting thing because there are multiple types of proximity. And the one that everyone defaults to is radial proximity. So we're here as the crow flies, what's the closest? But there's, visible in this technology, there's this smart proximity, the shortest drive time. And what's so interesting is how often you get a different outcome. So in this little snippet here, we have the as the crow flies at 6.6 miles. That's, 19 minutes away. 10 miles here, the longest one, also 19 minutes away. The 8.3 miles on this path is actually 3 minutes shorter. So in terms of shortest drive time, as the crow flies might not be the nearest. And so I started looking, and what I noticed is that when you go straight to maps and search, it kind of looks like shortest drive time is the type of proximity that works. But when you pass through that local context from organic web search to the more places, that it's using a dumb proximity. So I think part of the difference between going through the local pack more places and just searching in maps is you're switching the context between a dumb proximity to a smart proximity. Have you played at all with that, Lee?
No, but having you play around in this and discover that has led to some interesting ideas to test. So
yeah, so if you're not careful about how you bridge into local, you might switch this proximity behavior, and then you're not competing the right way. You're not gonna get the right rankings. You're not gonna get the right factors to compete on. So that context that transfers from organic web into that local pack appears to be just, vitally important to making sure that you're competing in a way that gets you into that map pack. What do you guys think about this concept of multiple proximities in play?
I was thinking that Google definitely had to have started with that original one with kind of radial proximity, and then with all the data they're getting out of Google Maps, when people get directions, I can see that being added in. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, and these things are aware. We saw from Holly's research that traffic jams affect, these drive times. And when she put 100 cell phones in motion, she caused traffic jams that might have rerouted traffic. which is kind of scary because for like emergency services and stuff like that, there may actually be, laws about, artificially causing routing traffic jams.
Wouldn't surprise me if that's not the first Holly law.
Yeah. But leave it to a black hat to show that, those 100 cell phones all at one stoplight could potentially be a ranking factor that affects proximity if they're using smart proximity. Doesn't matter if it's dumb radial proximity, but Hawley's experiment might actually be a ranking factor. A negative local ranking factor, negative local SEO. You could put a traffic jam that takes someone out of having good proximity.
Mm-hmm. The other interesting thing about this discovery of yours, Ted, is that if it holds, if Google is in fact using smart proximity on the map side, it's just a matter of time, I would think, before they roll that into the local results. If it's a better way of measuring proximity, eventually it'll integrate into the local algorithm, and then everything will look different for people, and they won't understand why. Location of your business will now become a major factor because it will affect drive time.
Yeah. So this really got me thinking. There definitely needs to be more research into how proximity works and what is the thing. Is it shortest path? Is it shortest drive time? Is it that as the crow flies radial proximity? And does it ever change modes? We need more research into proximity for sure. And then when I was looking at all of this, I kind of stumbled across some of the engineering. What we're seeing here is the inspector, and we're looking at a single tile of a multi-tile map. And it looks like Google is quantizing local search to these tiles. And it seems like they're quantizing the map to the number of results that's hard-coded. One of the things I was butting heads against right away was getting sample size, because local search is so hard-coded to 20 results. Like, good luck getting 100 results out of local in a single search. That's just not how it's built. It's built for 20. The map scales to those 20 showing. And when you paginate, the scale of the map changes based on the results being shown. And typically when you get to page 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, you're dealing with results that are further away, so your map scaling changes. And it brings in these complexities of like competition density and grid quantization. And I know that topically I'm getting into a sensitive area. So, Lee, are you willing to comment on this at all, or have we gone too far?
No, you're fine on that. I mean, I think you recognized, one of the things that I was looking at right away, which is the density of competition within an area changes the scale of the map, and sort of maybe the boundaries of how far you can push proximity within a particular area. Sometimes you can push it out, let's say 8 miles or something along those lines, but there's sometimes when it's very difficult to push it beyond 2 or 3 miles, and usually you have a great density in that particular area. So that's kind of the that plus the when you scale the map differently, when the map expands going from page 1 to 2, for example, some of your results will remain on the map, some of them will disappear. If you scale the map with the zoom, all of those things come into play, and it makes you wonder whether Google is hard-coded to one particular zoom.
Yeah, so definitely the technology is a grid-based, quantized system, and each of these like URLs is a different grid in their technology, and so it's really interesting to see that they're looking at the results within those grid tiles and how they present. And of course, they would have to have some sort of a tiled thing to display the map correctly. But the question is, how does that change the underlying technology of how results are shown and how things rank? Is that all based on, grids and what's happening within those grids?
Hey, Ted, just a quick heads up. We're 49, almost 50 minutes in.
All right, I'm almost done. So finally, there are a lot of dynamic features that come into play. And these things are a real monkey wrench if you're trying to parse the data. So like the hours of operation, they come in almost like lunar phases, like, it's opening soon. Oh, we're open. Watch out, it's closing soon. Oh, we're closed, but we'll reopen on Monday. Oh, this business is just kind of temporarily out. The fact that the data you're working with is changing, and sometimes the data is there and sometimes it's not there at all, it brings in a lot of complexity. Like, not all results will have priciness, and you can have up to 3 facets, but there's a lot of different facets you can have. And even on things like, the website and directions, you can have one, the other, none at all, or both. And there's even a third one for scheduling. And it's just an incredibly challenging parsing problem to be able to detect what's even there, what you can parse, and then trying to compare apples and oranges when it can change from result to result. So the dynamic features within local search really make me wonder if it isn't, a meta search engine more than a search engine, and based on the keywords, potentially dealing with different algorithms. And then I wanted to show pagination changing the search radius. So here's page 1 for lawyer near me, where we got this nice cluster right here. But by the time you get out to page 9, you're looking at a more regional zoom based on that page of results. And these pins are all tied to the search results being shown. So as you page, you obviously get less and less proximity as a factor. And so you get that broader region. And then there's this other thing that just totally tripped me out. When you start searching, your keywords get translated into faceted navigation filters. So Thai food became a cuisine filter. Best meant a 4+ rating filter. Coffee shop now open does an hours of operation filter. Cheap implemented a price filter. So your keywords, it's almost like your keywords start doing like special search operators. And we don't see that in the organic side, but it's very commonplace on the local side that your keywords start invoking these filters. And what's so crazy is the best one, it forces this filter, and then it's like it removes best from the context. So you don't get relevancy for best in all cases. But when you do cheap pizza, it puts in this filter, but cheap still starts showing up as a relevant keyword match. And so it's really weird how from keyword to keyword, the rules of relevancy and these triggered filters comes into play. It's definitely a complicating factor when your keyword choice can change how search works. So Lee, have you stumbled on this a lot?
Yeah, I stumbled on it more with you. I'd noticed, but hadn't like put 2 and 2 together on this. So it is definitely complicating when you're trying to figure out exactly what is triggering the ranking factor versus these filters changing the result set.
Yeah, and in the case of best plumber and cheap pizza, where best seems to be removed from the keyword relevancy pool, but for cheap pizza, it's not. They still allow it to be a keyword match. I mean, I'm not even sure how to begin with that problem set. And so, yeah, it's definitely a complicating factor for me in terms of how do we handle these situations in a Quora-like solution. And then finally, there's this hidden search within a search. Google lets you search within a website for specific pages. Well, local lets you search within a mall. So you could say restaurants within this other, GMB context, and it knows to search for GMBs within that other GMB context. And I was like, well, how can this be? Clearly this is a mall, but it does it within neighborhoods. It does it on specific streets. Every street in Seattle has its own GMB card. Every landmark in Seattle has its own GMB card. And so there's this weird scoping that you can refine your search within a scope. Have you run into that much?
Yes, that's one of the it's one of the areas that a lot of people that work in local, or how do you associate a business with a neighborhood, with a zip code, with a county, or those kind of regions. So there's definitely a lot of activity in trying to crack that. I'll just leave it at that.
It's another complicating dimension when your keywords can actually limit the scope of your search. So, the takeaways on this, entities, bright red. These modes appear to matter. They may behave more like a meta search engine, blending different search algorithms or switching search algorithms even. And context from search, if you're trying to rank well organically in local MacPack, is so important that you have to make sure you don't mess up the context. Because if you click over and even scale the map, you've kind of ruined your result set for analysis. So you have to be very careful about how you step into your analysis for local. And then keywords that trigger filters, I don't know if that's helpful or if targeting those ruins your game. But I guess if there's search volume there, you have to play in that field. But that's kind of a new ballpark because you've changed the dominant factor when you trigger one of those filters. So the normal organic ranking factors change if you use one of those magic words. And then, of course, completeness of your GMB cards, the schema you have on the page, the on page, and even things like your Google Shopping feed are all potentially important ranking factors depending upon the local terms you want to target. So there's a lot to unpack in local. It's going to be a while before I have a solid, expert offering in this space. It's a complicated problem. Any final thoughts, Clint?
No, I was thinking that myself. As there's, the more you mess around with local and maps, etc., you realize that the rules are completely different. But the rules that you're allowed to see versus what is actually being worked in the back, I just couldn't see how you were going to be able to actually pull it off. So I was actually looking forward to seeing how long or the development process of Quora local. I know you've tossed that around and doing it, but now that you've seen the back end complications of actually creating a tool that can definitively say, hey, this is a ranking factor, I'm looking forward to watching that process go along and identifying it first, and then testing each one, and then turning that into an output that someone can use to successfully to rank like you can with Quora right now.
Yeah, it's going to take some time for sure, because just even parsing that data when it's, there one result and gone the next. I mean, it's going to have to be an incredibly sophisticated parser because, right off the bat, from the business standpoint, I'm looking at this thing going, oh my God, it's going to break daily. It's going to be a difficult thing to definitely support, especially since Google's not done testing it. In the course of doing this research, I saw them change how that More Places link works. I saw them change other features. It's clear that Google is actively developing this. So it's, the goalpost is in motion on it. What do you think, Kyle?
You went to lunch. You took too long.
Technical issues. It's interesting, the things that I think that we all do within SEO almost, I don't want to say we accidentally hit these things, but these are all things that you should be doing, right? I feel like a lot of it is just kind of part of what I think good SEO is, GMB completeness, getting the schema. I know Clint does a ton with schema, your on page, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it really kind of comes back to, I think this is awesome. I want to see more with it. But at the end of the day, like if anybody's listening and they don't really understand any of this, just do all the things, do all the things you should be doing, and that should sort itself out, I would think. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'd say if you're trying to rank well in local, you need to do your search, and you kind of need to look at the entities that are ranking well. You need to look at the features that are being drawn from the different fields of the GMB card. Definitely make sure you complete those. On page does appear to matter. I think Lee can speak to that better than anyone. So Lee, what are your thoughts on what people should do?
Well, I think one of the, just from a personal experience recently, Kyle and I were talking about a particular website, and, they were going to do their on page, and I was going to do a little traffic with it. And they went off and did their on page, and the entire map turned green. Like, it would have been a perfect result had I done it. I couldn't have asked for anything better with traffic. So, the on page made the traffic unnecessary because it was done so well. So we know that is there. And I've seen it too many times with, better on page just creates, better proximity. And everybody knows if you're trying to rank for a bunch of suburbs, you build those suburb pages, and lo and behold, your GMB is doing, better. So I would say personally, if I had to put a number on it, on page is 60% of your GMB ranking.
So that's an important detail. And so I'd encourage people to run tests, make field observations. If you come across something cool, reach out to us, let us know. We have our testing group. If you want to join that, contact Lee at Internet Marketing Gold. So just log in to the website and send them a private message. Lee, are you still taking on clients in local, or are you just doing research these days?
I I work through a couple of agencies where they'll do the client headache portion, and I'll just do my thing in the background because I know, they're not going to call me and say, hey, the client was number 6 yesterday, they're number 9 today, what's going on? I'm never going to get that call ever. So I'm very selective. I think Clint hit it, earlier when he was talking about he will white label things, but only for specific people that he knows, likes, and trust. And, mine is down to about 2.
So I guess if you need help with your local SEO, you need to join IMG and ping Lee or Clint for referrals on how to get help. And with that, I'll turn this over to networking unless there are any final announcements anyone needs. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for all that work. I wish it had panned out a little better because I, for one, was looking forward to Core Local to get some of the answers to the multitude of questions, but I knew it was difficult.
It's not dead, but it's definitely not going to be a quick turnaround.
Well, we all know that everyone likes a challenge.
So next,
anyone can do it. Ted can do it.
So not this Friday, but next Friday is what I'm hearing.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I will see you in the networking. And I know there's questions on YouTube about Quora. If you can ask those in the Quora category and internetmarketing.gold, I would appreciate it. You could also email me through support. That's fine too. But we're out of time. So thanks a lot.
Bye, everybody.